We would get hundreds of shares on these posts, and we got the blog, literally organic content, SEO, inbound, to the point where we're doing 350,000 unique visitors a month. Hey there, I'm Dan Martell, serial entrepreneur, investor, and creator of SaaS Academy. In this episode, I'm gonna share with you 3 crazy ideas that work to grow my business. And be sure to stay at the end. We're gonna tell you how to get access to this exclusive training called Silicon Valley Secrets. 3 growth hacks that I learned from the top growth hackers in Silicon Valley. Let's get into it. So one of the things you need to know about me is that I am a marketing nerd. I came from the technical background, software, writing code. And because of that, I'm a big fan of deconstructing and reverse engineering things to figure out how they grow, how they work. What are the systems, the approaches, the methodologies, the principles? And when I moved to San Francisco, even though I had a lot of success in my previous company, Spheric, running paid acquisition, back then this is like Google AdWords, pay-per-click campaigns, I wanted to understand how software companies got distribution, ideally for free. When you see all these like freemium tools, this is the early days of Dropbox and other kind of consumer meets B2B SaaS products. I just went deep. I met the people that literally shaped my thinking around growth hacking, folks like Sean Ellis, Andrew Chen, Heaton Shaw from Kissmetrics. Literally the best people. Even a guy named Andy Johns that a lot of people don't know about, but he was the one that really allowed me to understand how growth is kind of like an investment, like you would do for financial investment. You're trying to create compound growth. So I went from learning a little bit of AdWords when I moved to San Francisco to 5 years later, having spent millions of dollars on paid acquisition, built 2 venture-backed companies, and been asked to speak around the world on marketing and growth hacks. So today I want to share with you 3 crazy stories of my companies that I was involved in, to how I grew them, that a lot of people don't know the behind the scenes story. So let's get into it. Number 1, find your pond. So I built this company called Clarity. If you never heard of it before, it's clarity.fm. It's kind of if LinkedIn had a phone feature, that's kind of what Clarity was. It was an expert network for people to get advice over the phone. People paid for the advice. And because it was a marketplace, we had to figure out how to attract experts that were qualified, that were notable, that had the answers that people might be looking for in regards to getting advice around really like specific topics like cryptocurrency or pricing if you're a SaaS founder, or sales compensation, kind of like really specific things. So when I ask people if they had to like come up, for you, even like ask yourself, what would be ways for you to create a network of experts? And a lot of people go, well, Quora would make a lot of sense because there's a lot of people answering questions on Quora, and there's kind of this voting mechanism. But if you've ever tried to automate something against Quora and like scrape information, even if I wasn't trying to do anything malicious, it's near impossible. A lot of these sites like LinkedIn and Quora have like locked it down. So we were building 9 months into this company, trying to figure out a way that wasn't manual, because in the early days, we hand-to-hand combat, went out, recruited those experts into our world. But I needed a way that was going to be scalable, right? Because we had the information for what the market was looking for based on the search terms and Clarity, but we needed a way to go out and get these experts, kind of source them from these pools of smart people. So we kept trying to approach it, trying to figure it out, testing different strategies. And then one day I was like on my way to work and it hit me. I said, what about SlideShare? So SlideShare, it's actually lost quite a bit of momentum. It used to be like the place that anybody did speaking. I used to publish all my slides there. A lot of my friends, all the event organizers kind of put things on SlideShare. It was kind of like a social network for your presentations. And the cool part is 2 things. 1, if you search a term on SlideShare, you would find all the experts on that topic. And number 2, that helped me and Clarity try to find the source of those experts, was the last slide typically contained their email address. So that was a really great way for us to take somebody looking for an expert and reach out and get them. And we literally went from like mediocre traction to all of a sudden just being able to source experts on the fly. We actually built this internal tool called Bonjour that was like 1 part automation, 1 part, a whole team in Manila trying to help us reach out and curate all these incredible experts. And For me, that is the crazy ideas, is where is your pond? Where are your pond of either customers or partners? Where are they hanging out? What is not obvious to other people that you might be able to discover? And that to me is the creative aspect of growth hacking. So ask yourself, where do my customers spend time, and how do I go fishing in those ponds in a way that is aligned with their best interests so that it's value added and not just leeching? Number 2, who's got my list? I built my first company ever. It's called Maritime Vacation. And the long story short is my dad had a cottage and he was getting calls all the time. So I would sit there and watch my dad, answer the same questions. Like, does it have, does it accept pets? How close is it to beach? Is it available? And I remember, I'm 17, 18 years old. I was 17 at the time when he first approached me. And I just asked, hey, if you had a web page that listed all the information, would that be valuable? And he's like, yeah, that'd be amazing. This is early days of the internet. And I said, okay, what would you pay for that? So the fun part is I got my dad, I think he said a couple $100 a year. I got him to give me $500 because I said, I got to build this thing. I'm not going to charge you to write the code, but I knew I needed enough money to be able to buy the servers, right? So I needed the code that I was going to write to run on a server. And this is early, way before Amazon Web Services and other tools like that. And so I started writing code and I built this whole application. Essentially, it was like a very simplified version of Air Bed and Breakfast so that I can not only create a listing for my dad, but also create a place for other people to list their cottages. That was the big idea. That's why I called it Maritime Vacation. The Maritimes is where I'm from in Eastern Canada. And it was maritimevacation.ca, like Canada and really kind of a small idea, but it was the first thing I ever built. So anyways, it's great to build it, but now how do you get the customers? So what I remember struggling, how do I find the other, other people like my dad that had cottages? And one night I was hanging out with my buddy Dave. Dave was a bit of a stoner, okay? Really liked the guy, meant well, but wasn't too motivated in life. And I was kind of struggling with this question, how do I get people to know about my website? And Dave kind of says in his stonerish kind of he's like, yo, dude, there's this tourism guide. And I'm like, a tourism guide? He's like, yeah, dude, there's this guide that they put out, Tourism New Brunswick puts out. It's got all the cottages and all the bed and breakfasts listed in the guide. And I was like, what? So got my hand on a copy of the tourism guide, opened it up. Literally, it's like what to do in New Brunswick. And then it's just a whole directory of cottages and bed and breakfasts. So I had the information, but it was in a magazine. I had to get it into some way of automating it. So I hired my little brother, Mo. I put him in front of my computer for $3 an hour. And I built a Microsoft Access database. And I said, Mo, enter in all this information. So he did that. Then I created a mail merge on Word and built this form letter that essentially said, hey, we're Maritime Vacation. If you'd like a listing for your cottage, fill out this form, include 3 photos. It's $30 for the listing, but if you want to have your photos back, add an extra $5 so that I can ship the photos back to you. So I printed off hundreds of these form letters, folded them up, put them in the mail, and shipped them out. I mean, this is super ghetto. There was no fanciness. This isn't advertising. But I sent out the mail, and I remember a few days later, not a few days, it was essentially 10 days later, my dad came back and he had a handful of envelopes, and he just looked at me and he said, what did you do? And I was like, what? Did that come from me? And he's like, yeah. And we start opening it. Not only did people order the web pages for their bed and breakfast or their cottages, but there was also money in the envelopes. Nobody in today's world would send cash in an envelope through the postal mail. And people did back then. So that was the beginning of kind of how do I think about growth? It's not about building something. Anybody can build it. That's not the riskiest part about your business model. The riskiest part about your business model is, can you get in front of your perfect fit customer? That's what I call it. And present an offer that's compelling and valuable enough for them to want to take action, and make it easy for them to take action. But the question you got to ask yourself is, who's got my list? Number 3, viral content. This is probably my favorite crazy idea, because when we were building my company, Flowtown was a social marketing application for small business owners. So essentially, if you think of email marketing, I saw in 2009 the future of early days of Twitter and Facebook, where there will be essentially a tooling, a set of applications that would help small businesses market on social media. So Flowtown was that product. And one of the core hooks that we did was we took an email address and we gave you all of the social networks that email address, your customer or your lead, was on, so that we made it really easy for you to build campaigns to reach out to them. So that was cool. Built this first MVP, got early customers, got things to like ramen profitable. But for us to get real growth, we needed more eyeballs. The product sold itself if people heard about it, but we needed a really cost-effective way to get people aware of it. So one of the things that I saw going on back then was a site called mint.com. And Mint had one of the most beautiful blogs out there. And they were consumer. So they were trying to create just content that would help consumers understand their personal finance. And then obviously, if you wanted to do that in an automated way, Mint is the tool for you to do that. And one of the things that Mint did that I thought was cool, I just didn't understand how to do it for us, was they created these really cool infographics. So like pie charts and workflows and all these different things to explain what they were selling. And one of the ways we thought of, and I didn't know if it would work, was, okay, well, I don't have anything cool that I can, infograph. We're a business-to-business marketing tool. But what if we found other data sets? What if we found interesting information that other people had created and we visualized it? So we found other marketing companies that had SMB marketing data. We found other people that had written these like detailed, like how to do stuff. But then we asked to partner with them and we co-created these infographics. So think like, these really long, they were big before. And because that was another thing that mint.com did really well, was these infographics. And we just started publishing these and we started promoting them. And we got really good at like sites like Dig and Reddit and a bunch of different distribution channels. But the infographics were so valuable in their own that people would just share them. We would get hundreds of shares on these posts. And we got the blog, literally organic content, SEO, inbound, to the point where we're doing 350,000 unique visitors a month, all through this crazy idea of saying, let's go find some data that we think would be interesting to our potential customers, co-create it, co-produce it. So when we went to somebody that had a data set, we said, hey, we want to visualize it. Here's an example. They're like, that's amazing. It's like, well, we'll create it. You publish it on your blog. We'll publish it on ours maybe a week later. So we added some value. So we got the credit or the ability to get the data. Then we published it on ours. We linked it up. We asked them, other people, to link it up. And we partnered with this company down in LA called C5, Column 5. And I got to tell you, those crazy early days of building content of these infographics, it blew up to the point where the infographics were featured in marketing books. People asked us for the rights that we created these like marketing assets, if they could republish them in their books. And it was a real honor. And it was cool to see some of them go like crazy viral where they get thousands of shares. And again, it's just these crazy ideas of like looking around you and trying to see what are other people doing and can that work in my industry? But that's how we use viral content to really get distribution for my company, Flowtown. So quick recap, 3 crazy ideas that helped me grow my business. 1, find your pond. Number 2, who's got your list? And 3rd, can you create some viral content? So those are some fun stories of my entrepreneurial journey and some crazy ideas that I've had to help grow my business. But I want to also share with you a resource I mentioned at the beginning, which is Silicon Valley Secrets, like how to growth hack your business based on some of the strategies that I learned from the top in the world, people that worked at Facebook, Quora, Twitter, etc. These are folks like Andy Johns. If you don't know who he is, I think he's still involved in Wealthfront, but Andy was he worked with Chamath, who was the head of growth at Facebook. I met Andy at an event. He shared some incredibly powerful principles for how he approached testing different growth ideas. So you can click the link below to get access to that exclusive training just for my community. It's called the Silicon Valley Secrets for Growing Your SaaS or your software company. Be sure to click the link to get access to that. And if you like this video, please, please, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you liked the most, what resonated with the most. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and smash that like button. And as per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business. And I'll see you next Monday.